Good afternoon, friends. Today we do a text movie on Mahopanishad or Mahopanishad from Samaveda. It's unfortunate that I am doing such a shoddy work of making this text movie, but this document, this work, this Upanishad is so very important that I'm just putting it out there so that someone else will get encouraged and do a better work, better quality work in terms of publishing this, in terms of producing the video on this. Though of course the work itself is, the Upanishad itself is flawless, it's amazing. Amongst all the other Upanishads that I have done text movies on, I think this Upanishad has moved me the most. So let's start. Om. Let my limbs and speech, prana, eyes, ears, vitality and all the senses grow in strength. All existence is the Brahman of the Upanishads. Remember, Brahman as in Brahmin is different, and Brahma or Brahman of the cosmos is different. So where you have Brahmin, that's Brahmin, or the caste, the person, the Pandit, and Brahman, Brahman, is the Brahma, is the cosmos. So all existence is the Brahman of the Upanishads. May I never deny Brahman, nor Brahman deny me. Let there be no denial at all. Let there be no denial, at least from me. May the virtues that are proclaimed in the Upanishads be in me, who am devoted to the Atman. May they reside in me. Om. Let there be peace in me. Let there be peace in my environment. Let there be peace in the forces that act on me. And now, let's get on to the chapter 1. Chapter 1. Then we shall expound the Mahopanishad. Now, since this is an abridged version, I have not included a lot of other things. I am just trying to get to the substance of the Upanishad. So let's get to chapter 2. What you see right at the beginning is 2-1-11, 2 in Roman -1-11. That means chapter 2, verse 1 to 11. A person may get certain knowledge of the self by himself by long self-analysis. This is because the self is beyond description, unrealizable by worldly means, by the mind and the sense organs, pure bliss, atomic, subtler than even ether. That is the word that has been used for vacuum or space or nothingness or undefinable stuff or unknowable stuff. The millions of particles undergo generation, subsistence and dissolution inside the Supreme Being by rotation of the power. The Supreme Being is ether, because there is nothing outside it, and yet not the ether, because it is all pure consciousness. It is nothing which can be pointed out as a thing or a reality. It is conscious, being lustrous like rock, because it cannot be known, causing the picture like awakening of the world in itself, the pure ether. This cosmos is only the manifestation of that being. There is nothing other than that. The differences in the universe are also its manifestation. Present everywhere, connected with everything, yet it does not move, as there is nowhere else to go. It does not exist as there is nowhere to exist, yet exists because it is existence by nature. Brahman is knowledge, bliss, and the resort of the giver of Jivan Mukti. Giving up of all mental desires is the way. The wise say that the understanding of that being is the absence of worldly conceptions. The dissolution and creation of the universe are due to the contraction and expansion respectively of the power. The basis of Vedantic statements, yet beyond words, it is I, reality, knowledge, bliss, and nothing else. Sukha knew all this by his own subtle intellect, then remained with his mind ceaselessly wrapped in it. He did not have the conception that the Atman is real. His mind simply turned away from worldly temptations as the many worldly enjoyments which break very much. When there is generated a wiping away of visible phenomena by the mind, realizing that there is no visible object which is real, then arises the great joy of nirvana, which is extinction or liberation. He is said to be liberated while living, who has managed to lose the taste for enjoyment by means of penance, etc., and no other cause. Who does not rejoice nor languish, being detached when joy and grief befall him according to time or destiny. Who is untouched in the mind by exaltation, anger, fear, lust, and meanness. Who gives up as if playfully the egotist tendency and remains giving up brooding. Who is free from desire and non-desire as he is introvert and behaves as in deep sleep. Who is seated delighting in the spirit, replete, pure in mind, having got excellent repose, and desires nothing in the material world, and lives without unction. Who is unsmeared in the region of heart with the objects of knowledge, and whose consciousness is not inert. Who performs without expectation, likes and dislikes, joy and grief, virtue and vice, success and failure. Who is silent, egoless, prideless, avoiding jealousy, and does actions without agitation. Who exists like a detached onlooker and functions without attachment and desire everywhere. Who has given up internally all of dharma and adharma, thought and desire. Who has given up fully the worldly view. Who eats with equal detachment what is bitter, sour, salty, astringent, seasoned and unseasoned. Who has given up dharma and adharma, joy and grief, death and spirit. It is worth noting that this line says, who has given up dharma and adharma. So basically what the Upanishad is teaching us, that beyond dharma and adharma there is something else, and that is Brahman, that you and I are a part of, that we actually are, that it actually is I. That I am it and it is I. So who has given up dharma and adharma, joy and grief, death and birth? Who, free from tension and joy, does not get depressed or elated with a pure intellect? Who has given up all desires, all doubts, all conation or volition, all rigid thoughts? Who is equal towards birth, existence and death, rise and fall? Who does not dislike or hanker after anything and enjoys incidental pleasure? So, this again is important. Who does not dislike or hanker after anything and enjoys incidental pleasure. So, you don't not enjoy the pleasure that is coming to you, but you don't actually hanker after it, crave after it, run after it. Whose thoughts of worldly life whose thought of worldly life has quietened down, who has aspects and yet is aspectless, having mind yet mindless, who is active towards all objects yet is desireless, as if they are alien objects, is full in spirit. He gives up the state of Jivan Mukta when this body is consigned to time, that is death, and enters the state of Adeha Mukta, like wind which does not move. Such a person does not rise or set, is neither real nor unreal, nor is he far away, nor I, nor another. Other than him, there is no lustres nor darkness which is steady and profound, ineffable and unmanifest, not empty vacuum, not having form, neither visible nor vision, nor a mass of creations, but existing infinitely. Undesignated in nature, fuller than the fullest, neither real nor unreal, neither being nor coming into being, pure consciousness, not the Chaitya, that is world created by the mind, endless, ageless, auspicious, having no beginning, middle or end, having no ailment in mind or body, that which is considered as the vision amidst the seer, seeing and object of seeing. O sage, there is surely nothing beyond this. So we see one concept being mentioned here, that is Chaitya, which is the world created by mind. At some stage, we have to understand that the best truth that is accessible to us is the empirical or the objective truth. The best reality accessible to us is the objective reality. It's the reality which we find, which we call empirical reality, which is the reality which science studies, which basically depends upon logic and the evidence of our senses. Now, when we go on this path, many of us realize that what we see as empirical truth, empirical reality, objective reality, is actually a picture, an image, a created reality, a reality that is created by our minds. Why is it created by our minds? basically created by our genes so that they can continue living, so that they can survive within the vehicle that is us. Us as in human beings, us as in one after another individuals which function as vehicles, as cars or whatever, which move, which help the genes survive, which let them go from one place in time, or one stop in time to another stop in time. So the reality that we see is that we can measure, that we can objectively study, the one that science brings to us, is the reality that is created for us by our minds. Now, even though there are many minds, and together we take each other's help in understanding that objective reality better and better, the real reality is beyond that. The real reality is underlying that reality. For example, the color red or green has no reality of its own. It's just a stop. It's just a particular tuning on the vast electromagnetic spectrum within which the visible spectrum itself is a narrow band, and there red is just a sliver, and some distance from it is green, which is also just a sliver, something which our eyes are tuned to. Those colors are very real to us, but in terms of the real reality, in terms of the absolute reality, probably the underlying reality, they are not really different from each other. So the world that we know as the world that we know as the empirical world, the world that we know as objective world, is really nothing but a story made up, a movie made up by our brains. So this, when understood, then takes us to the next step, which is trying to understand what the absolute reality, or at least the underlying reality, the reality underlying the objective reality is. And that is where Upanishads take us. So, moving on. It is known by yourself as well as heard from a preceptor. One is bound by one's own fancy and released by being rid of it. Detachment towards enjoyment of all visible external objects has arisen in you. All that is to be got has been got by you with a perfect mind. You feel erred in regard to your own nature, but now being liberated, give up error. You see that you are Brahman itself, beyond what is external and internal. You see, but you do not see. You see, but you do not see. You are the sole and perfect onlooker, uninvolved. And that is where chapter 2 ends, and we'll start chapter 3 in the next part of this video series.